조금 색다른 거를 해볼까 합니다. 영영 영상인데요. Millennials to Millennials. Incomes inequality isn't the problem. Avocados are bad. 이거를 이제 오늘은 쉐도잉을 좀 해보겠습니다. TYT-라고 해서 The Young Turks 라는 채널에서 하고 있고 내용은 team owners thinks millennials can't afford houses because they are buying the Starbucks and avocado toast. And St. Ganger and Anna Kasparian, the host of The Young Turks, breaks it down. So tell us what you think in the comment sections below. And really spending on avocados, the pricey, the popular superfruits loved by young people may be one of the reasons why some young people can't afford the house, according to the Australian Millionaire and the property mogul Tim Gunner. When I was trying to buy my first home, I wasn't trying to smash the avocado for that $19 and 4 coffees at $4 each. The Gunner told the Australian news show 60 Minutes that only 32% of house owners were first-time buyers in 2016, the lower points since 1987, according to a study by the Nerd Wallet. A recent study by HSBC found that the American millionaires have a home ownership rate of 35%. And in Australia, only about 28% of millionaires own their houses. Cost is often a major factor in millionaires' decisions to buy. The study found that a lot of young house owners got the financial boost from their parents when they're making their purchase. So we're at the point now where the expectations of the younger people are very, very high, Gunnar said. They want to eat out every day. They want to travel to Europe every year. The people that own homes today worked very, very hard for it, saved every dollar and did everything they could to get up the property investment ladder. So 이 내용을 이제 쉐도잉을 한번 해보겠습니다. 소리를 조금만 조정을 할게요. 진짜 빨라요. To meet him, Tim Burton. He is the wealthy and the individual living in Australia who recently had an interview with the Australian version of the 60 Minutes. And during the interview, the header said millionaires and their inability to afford housing. And of course, I love that when we hear with out of the wealthy people who has also earned certainty theories why. I love when you hear out of the touch wealthy people have other theories of why millionaires can't buy the house. And of course, I love when I heard from all sorts of the theory about housing. Of course, I love when you hear from out of touch wealthy people who have all sorts of the theory why the millionaires can't afford to buy a house. So here's what we have to say. So here is what he has to say. When I tried to buy my first home, I wasn't buying a smashed avocado for the 19 and 4 coffees at the for which we are at the point now that the very expectations of the young people are very, very high. We're at a point now. We're at a point now. We're at a point now that where the expectations of the younger people are very, very high. They want to eat out of every day. They want to travel to Europe every year. The people that own homes say that they work very, very hard for us, saved every dollar, that did everything they could get up the they could to get up the property, invest the letter. We're at the point now that where the expectations of the young people are very, very high. They want to eat out every day. They want to travel to Europe every year. The people that own some homes, so today work very, very hard for us, saved every day year, saved every dollar. The point now that the expectations of the young people are very, very high. They want to eat out every day. They want to travel to Europe every year. The people that own homes, they work very, very hard for it. Saved every dollar, saved everything that they could get to the property investor level. The people that own homes today worked very, very hard for it. Saved every dollar. Saved hard for it. Saved every dollar. Did everything they could. Did everything they could to get out did everything they could to get off the property investor ladder. Did everything they could to get off the property investor ladder. We're at a point now that where the expectations of the young people are very, very high. They want to eat out every day. They want to travel to Europe every year. The people that own homes today worked very, very hard for it. Saved every dollar. They everything they could to get off the property investor ladder. First of all, I would be shocked to find anyone who goes to Starbucks 4 times a day to buy the $4 coffees. Maybe once a day, but maybe you're twice a day. But what I want to say is, no one's spending for the one spending by your maybe once a day, but 4 times a day you're exaggerating. Maybe twice a day, but 4 times a day, you're exaggerating. The secondly, no one is expecting. Secondly, no one buys the 19. No one buys that. Secondly, the one spending $19 of the avocado toast. That's crazy. The third one, that even so, even if someone does buy that kind of the money of the spending of that food, and then they solve, they still wouldn't be able to save enough money to buy a house. How I know that? Because I just did the most intensive the investigations into the several different countries that are in several different countries that are having a housing parks. There's several different countries that are having a housing price crisis right now, and you cannot compete with foreign investors who come in with all the cash offers. Don't need to take out the work. Don't need to take out the investors to come in. Don't need to take out the mortgage. Don't need to work with the offers. Don't need to take out the mortgage. Don't need to work with the escrow. All cash offers. Don't need to take out the mortgage. Don't need to work with them. Don't need a letter. Just come in and just make it rain, and they snatch up that all that homes. That's what's happening right now. So do you want to talk to me? With those someone living in those Los Angeles that's experiencing this the first hand. Would you, hey, just could you stop the buying of avocados? Because I don't be able to afford the homes. Not buying it. This shows how incredible it is. Not buying it. This is shows how. This is how. This is shows how incredibly our thought is popular. There are two parts of this that I'm not saying about that it happens in the big cities. No, no, it's happening in the smallest city in the country as well. This is just oh, shit. It's it is happening in the small cities as well. It is it is it's happening in the small cities. Like this is happening a lot in the United States. This is not just the problem in the US. This is a problem in Australia, in Japan, and Canada. We're seeing it all over the world. Yeah. Part of the reason is that the folks in other countries are that folks in other countries like China and Russia and the Gulf that they're gonna watch their money. That the reason why reason are and so the reason they're coming in with the cash is and so the reason they are coming in the cash is because that the rules set up in their own country on what this rules set up in their own country, rules set up in their own country. And, and so the reason why they are coming in the cash is because the rules set up in their own country on what they can we cannot move that through bank, what they can and cannot move through banks. Instead, they're moving in through cash and they lay down property and it cannot be distressed, especially that the China, but especially China, but personally Russia as well as other countries. So that is the part of the phenomenon that is the driving up prices. But you're not going to be able to get the economical price enough to be able to afford houses in the cities. They're way higher than what this guy is talking about. But I actually think that even but I but I actually think that even a bigger issue here is that everybody lives in is is that everybody lives in their own bubble. Everyone lives in their own bubble. So for the rich like Tim Gardner, he actually does he bubble. So rich like Tim Gardner, he actually knows a lot of millennials that eat avocado toast because they're his rich friends' kids. So we looked at he looked at them, we look at them and goes that that they look at the oh I said this morning so that forever so, and so we look at that and goes that they're not entitled and they're working hard enough. All they do is that the spending and that is that. And so for that, so some of them that's the truth, but he looks at he we looks at them and goes and we looks and then goes and looks and he looks at them and goes there's they are so entitled. So he looks at them and goes and they're entitled and working hard enough that all they do is the spending and money and that is money. Well the for them that for some of them that's true. That's totally true. Well, for some of them, that's totally true. But you don't say that the middle class and poor millionaires who don't have money and that is money to spend, who aren't spending twenty $20 for a buck, that is money and for spending $20 for avocado toast because they don't have that money. Let alone have good money to spend. Who aren't paying to spend the 20 for avocado toast because they don't have that money. There's too many bucks to but to buy a home. How many times that the team owners hang out with the minimum wage worker? That how many times that he with the guy who's working at the McDonald's in the middle of Australia, US or is if he met those guys, he would be shocked. If you just watch the videos on TYT Politics when the Jordan interviews those guys are working at the he went, and if you just watch the videos on TYT Politics when the Jordan interviewed those guys working at the burger chain, and he asked them that what is your dream? They haven't bothered to dream of the better future because all they knew is the minimum wage. And those, you think that those guys are eating avocado toast? It's ridiculous because it places the owner of the blame on the entire generations. They become the scapegoats entire generations. They become a scapegoats, and it's reality of great way. They became a scapegoats, and it's a really great way of the distracting of people from what is really going on behind the scenes. Distracting people from what is really going behind the scenes. Understanding that I'm not just expecting the people to hand up the houses. I'm not expecting to be easy. I understand that the homeownership is very difficult, and it's not a right, and it's not a privilege. And it's not a right, and it's not a privilege. You work hard and you earn it, right? Here's the thing, that earning it becoming incredibly difficult. It's becoming impossible because that you have all of these things that are working with you. It's not just your one factor. It's not just that the foreigners coming in, but that has to driven up the cost of the homes throughout the countries, right? Homes throughout the countries right now. Homes throughout the country right now. The homes of throughout the country right now. And isn't it kind of the investing how that the wages continues to be stagnant? Is it isn't it kind of the interesting? Isn't it kind of the interesting how wages continues to be stagnant? Isn't it kind of isn't it kind of interesting? I mean, isn't it kind of interesting how wages continues to be stagnant, right? I couldn't understand what's going on. I'm like that aren't earning more money. This is fuck. Couldn't what's going on? I'm like earning more, earning more money. This is currently a huge economic problems, but why is the prices of homes going up so quickly, so fast? And then you do a little research, and just you do a little research, you found out, and you can't compete with cash buyers, and you can't. And so you have countries throughout the world right now that are trying to have the pass of special taxes to defer to kind of deter the foreign investments. And look that the foreign investors is good to the foreign investments is good to certain extent uh to a certain extent as well, but they build up the certain houses and they have been elected, and or maybe the city doesn't have to elected, or they maybe that the city doesn't have the resources to do that. So foreign investment sometimes makes sense, but it's got so out of control that not only do the millionaires have to deal with the system that is the risk. Not only do millionaires have to deal with the system that people from the other countries are coming in the snatching up the opportunity as well. They they are coming in the snapping of the opportunity as well. 이렇게 해서 한 바퀴를 돌렸고요. 마지막에 한 번 더 해보고 해보겠습니다. Meet Glenberger. He is a wealthy and investor that living in the definitely higher than the Australian version of 60 Minutes. The interview he addressed the millionaires and their inability to affording housing. And of course, I love when we hear about the touching wealth that people who have certain theories on why the millionaires can afford to buy houses. That here's what to say. That when I tried to buy a new my first home, I wasn't buying a smashed avocados for the 19 and 4 times coffee at $4 each. We're at the point now that we're expectations of the young people are very, very high. They want to eat out every day. They want to travel to Europe every day. That the people out at the home today worked very, very hard for it, saved out every dollars and everything they could get to get up the property investment ladder. Okay, first of all, I was be shocked to find that anyone who goes to Starbucks 4 times a day to buy the $4 coffees. Maybe once a day or maybe twice a day, but the more let's say you're exaggerating. Secondly, that no one's spending like the $19 or $20 for avocado toast. That's crazy. And third of all, that even but does that kind of money on that the kind of food and that they still wouldn't be able to save enough money to buy a home. How do I know that? Because that I just did the most extensive investigations into the several different countries that are having a house class stress right now, and you cannot compete with the foreign investors who come in and with all the cash offers, don't need to take out mortgage, don't need to work with this girl, don't need to have a lender. They come in and just make it rain and they snatch all the homes. That doesn't happen right now. So so you want to talk to me that someone like the Lutheran is experiencing this firsthand. And they just divided the hundreds of the people. What the fuck? They just see that they just saw someone that who buying the avocado toast. Not buying it. This shows how incredible how this show is that how incredibly these people are. So there are two parts of this. I'm not saying that this happens in the big cities. No, it's happening in the small cities as well. It's not as the south. This is not just a problem in the US, this is a problem in Australia, Japan, and Canada that we are seeing all over the world. The part of the reason that the folks in other countries like China, folks that in other countries like the China and Russia, the Gulf, that they've got to wash the money. And so the reason why they're coming in with the cash is that because of the rules set in their own countries on what they can and cannot move through banks. Instead of they move them through cash and they lay down property and it can be traced. And especially the China, but certainly Russia as well as the other countries. So this is a part of the phenomenon that is the pricing going off, and you're not going to be able to eat at economical price enough to be able to afford houses in the cities, and they're way higher than what this guy is talking about. But I actually think that even that the bigger issues here is here is that everyone is everyone lives in their own bubbles. So for rich like Tim Gunners, he actually does don't knows a lot of engineers that eat avocado toast because they're rich his rich friends' kids. And so we look at them, and he look at them and goes that they're entitled and not working hard enough, and all they do is spending money and money. So that's where that's true, but hard enough. Those some of them that are totally true, but that we don't see is the middle and poor millionaires who don't have money that is money to spend and who aren't spending the 20 bucks for avocado toast because they don't have that money. They let them buy a house. How many teams has the team go how many times that the team owners hang out with the minimum minimum wage worker. How many times that he was working with, how many times has he with the guys who working with at the McDonald's in the middle of the Australia or US or and so on. If he met those guys, that he would be shocked. If he went that you just watched the video on TYT politics and the Jordan's interview that those guys working at the burger chain, they speak to them that what is your dream? They hadn't bothered to dream of the better future life because that they knew has the all they knew was the minimum wage. And you think that those guys are eating avocado toast? It's ridiculous because it places all of the blame on the all entire generations, but they become the scapegoats, and it's really a great way of distracting the people from what is the behind the scene. Understand that I'm not expecting the people to handle the house bills. I'm not expecting to be easy. I understand the home ownership is very difficult, but it is not alright, and this is not a privilege, and you work hard and you earn it, right? But here's the thing, earning it has become incredibly difficult. It has to become impossible because you have all of these things that are working against you, and it's not just the one factor. That it's just that the foreigners that comes in, but that has driven up the host of the home throughout the countries right now. Isn't it? I mean, that isn't it kind of the interesting that how wages that continuously being stagnant. I couldn't understand what's going on. I mean the aren't earning more money. That is the currently the huge economic problems. But why is the prices of the home is going up so quickly so fast? And then you just do a little research and you find out you can't compete with the cash buyers. You can't. And so that you have the countries throughout the world right now that's trying to have the special taxes to the kind of the deter foreign investments. And look, that the foreign investments is good to a certain extent as well. And they build up the certain towns that have been neglected, or maybe the city doesn't have the resources to do that. So foreign investments make sense, but it got so out of control that not only do billionaires have to deal with the system that rates the guests, but also that have to deal with the wealthy people from other countries. And, other countries and coming in the snatching the opportunities as well. 이렇게 해서 지금 거를 끝냈습니다. 다음에 또 봐요.